And we have Marissa Ain from Plate and Decanter, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marissa Ain. My company is called Plate and Decanter. I'm in my 6-year business, and I've been working in the hospitality event space for, I guess, well over a dozen years at this point. And Plate and Decanter obviously focuses on culinary and wine events. So I have the fun job. And we produce events mostly in the Tri-State area, but have done events across the country. I produced the Newport Mansions Wine and Food Festival the past 4 years, and also work on the James Beard Awards, New York City Wine and Food Festival, New York Wines, Grand Tasting, and a host of other events that we'll talk about. But it's mostly corporate and nonprofit clients who do gala benefits with celebrity chefs. So happy to share some of that with you tonight.
So, Marissa, would you like to start us off?
Sure, happy to. So, again, my lens is always through food and beverage, and the days of rubber chicken dinners are gone. For anybody who's interested in that, this is not your room right here. More and more clients, even if they're having a traditional business conference, they care deeply about what food is being served. We're seeing trends towards more local ingredients, more local beverages, and a sincere interest in what's being put on the table. So any good party has great food and beverage, and the things that people leave talking about are what they eat and drink. So there's certainly more of a focus on that and a greater level of importance, and I think clients are willing to spend more money on premium items.
How has, just a quick follow-up on that, so how has like the vegan, vegetarian movement affected that at all, if at all?
That's a great question. So I'll use the James Beard Awards as a great example. We have tons of foodies who attend that event, and even for the VIP dinner, which is the portion that I produce, the amount of dietary restrictions that came back, whether they were in advance or just on the fly, was staggering. So people are looking for more customized solutions, and chefs have to be ready, right away to accommodate that. And any good chef, I think, is willing and able. They may grumble about it a little bit, but there are so many different gluten-free and pescatarians and different restrictions that people have to respond to that to stay competitive.
This is what we're seeing in a lot of the industry too. I mean, from my understanding, a lot of people in the industry are seeing this high response time. I mean, Marissa, are you seeing similar situations?
Do you want to know what my inbox looks like right now?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think that's why I work with a lot of repeat clients, and with annual events, you have the opportunity to improve and create the same team and just work towards a common goal. And one thing my clients always comment on is, oh my gosh, do you always live on your computer? And with mobile devices and the advancements that technology, whether that's great or not, is a whole separate conversation. But it does allow you to get back to people quickly, and you can do a lot from your phone, or even when I'm traveling or on site for another event, I can get certain answers done. And using different platforms, there's been great advances in registration technology and just being more transparent about here's your data, here's exactly where your exhibitor registration is located, here's how much revenue you have, using Google Docs or Dropbox or all these shared working devices. We can do our jobs from almost anywhere. If you can fly in for a site visit, it's no problem to be completely transparent with your client and to get things delivered on time. So I think technology really works in our favor for a lot of this. I put virtual reality in an event proposal that I sent out for wine tasting. And I think clients are now interested in both artificial reality and virtual reality, and we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming years as technology develops. It's still a little cost prohibitive, but really interesting to see that that can even cross verticals. I'm seeing it more in music events and even crossover to food is pretty interesting. So the craziest thing, this past year, that doesn't give us as much to work with, but last month I was doing an event for a larger luxury brand, and they wanted to surprise their guests on a fairly limited budget, but they decided that it would be really cool to do an outdoor event in Florida and have fireworks. That was a very signature color for this particular brand. And the fireworks were, we had to set them, the whole dinner took place outside. There was a pool area and then this big grassy area. And we brought in these hedges to hide where the fireworks were staged so nobody would know. But it was still fairly close to where the dinner was. So they told me it would only take, a minute, like from when we said go and send a text message, technology, to, fire off. And I press go, and I'm waiting, and my fellow producer and I are waiting, and the client's waiting. And I guess it took a little bit longer than, what we expected, and all of a sudden it was like the biggest noise you've ever heard. Like, boom, scared half the guests, just speechless. Conversation stopped, like people, realized what was going on, but it was kind of terrifying. And then everybody, was in Oz once they realized it was fireworks and not gunshots. So.
Very surprising.
Yes.
I hate this question. Because I've been doing this for so long.
What about, this panel's also talking about what events are going to look like in the next 2 to 5 years. So do you have a sense as to what you think events are going to look like in the next 2 to 5 years, and what elements will be added, or what will not be added, what will be taken out of events? So Marissa, you have some thoughts?
Sure, absolutely. So again, speaking from food and beverage, we're seeing that integrate with other verticals. So there's a lot more with food and tech. I've worked on a couple of food and technology conferences in the past few years, and food and music is another really big area. We see food and, yay! all music. So there's a lot more integration, particularly with the festival level, and just some amazing, large-scale events that are coming out, and more interest in those. I have a proposal out for, a new event concept that's integrating music and food in really creative ways. I've seen a little bit in fashion, but fashion people generally don't eat, so that one scares me. But I think the
Oxygen bar.
perfect for fashion events, yes.
Balloons everywhere. Flavored air.
I think the experiential elements, that's why we're getting phone calls. People do want that connectivity from real life events, as well as, maybe virtual reality, but there is a connection through social media, so the event does live on. So even if you're not present at the event, you may see something really amazing on Instagram, or hear, a video clip or a music file, and you still feel connected to that live experience. So live experiences aren't going anywhere, but there's bleed into different verticals, whether that's corporate or social, and I think it'll be really interesting in the next couple of years just to see how that blends even further.
Can you tell us more about the festival circuit? Because that's, from what my understanding is, the festivals and different live events are really changing the way that people are experiencing these events and experiences. So maybe you can tell us more about how food and beverage is integrated with that.
Absolutely. I think sponsor integration is really where a lot of that's coming from, because these events are enormously expensive to put on, and we rely on sponsors to underwrite a lot of those costs. And for a sponsor to approach, it's not just about slapping your logo on something and having a dedicated Twitter, tweet. And sponsors are looking for more. So the way, I'll give you a clever way we integrated a sponsor at the Newport Mansion Wine Food Festival, and Nikon approached us. Loved the event, loved the mansions, really wanted to get involved. And we turned it on its head, and rather than saying, here's what we'll do for you, we asked them, what's important to your brand? And the answer is, we want people to try our cameras. So that's great. How do you make a camera make sense with food and wine when everyone's running around eating and drinking? So we set up a program where guests would walk in, they'd get their tote bag and their tasting glass, and then they had the opportunity to pass by an Nikon's branded station, and in exchange for their driver's license, they could rent a camera for the day, at no cost. So they have this camera to tour around the festival grounds, take photos, enjoy the experience, and at the end of the day, turn in the camera and get a jump drive with all of their photos. And we had a photo scenic overlook, set up that was also branded. So we have a social integration as part of that. So they got the hits on their side, we got the hits on the festival side, and anybody who wasn't at that experience saw, their friends in this beautiful scenic overlook, sponsored by Nikon. So it's just thinking smartly about that integration.
Really exciting.
So I would say things to take home. More transparency with pricing in our industry is something we definitely need to work on. There is a lot of confusion with vendor costs and even production costs, planning costs, and that's why I'm really excited to see what technology does to our industry. And I think Reveler is a really great example of a way of bringing that power both to the person who knows what they're doing with event planning as well as the novice. And I think recognizing hospitality as a field that has hard costs and is something that you need to pay for as professional services, we still have a long way to go. And I'm very excited to see how technology helps that. I always take a step back and look at things through the guest experience, because clients will ask for crazy things and they're not always thinking about what their audience is going to take away from that event. So usually, when something comes our way, I'll say, okay, but think about that if you're walking in the door. What is that going to be through the eyes of your guest? And technology is also being really helpful in expediting registration and, showing, having digital invitations, having cool experiential things that you can do at the event. So I think, yes, we definitely still need to pick up the phone and have that connectivity, because that's the whole point of having a live event. But seeing how we can use technology to better expedite our processes as planners, as well as to ultimately deliver a great experience for who's in that room.
Fantastic.